pull this up. Hey, welcome back to Red Gym. Is just trying to reconnect there. We've got the board today because we're going to go over some math here in a little bit, but today's show is about the real reason for single leg squats and why there's a huge misunderstanding out there about what these actually are, because a lot of people think that it's about balance. It's just and we're going to go over that a little bit. But today's Monday. We usually come at you with a little bit of a mindset thing, but today is about how strength works. Strength is really it's about movement quality, and once you get into the movement quality stuff and you start to understand that, then at some point, and you start to really ingrain those patterns, you'll naturally just get stronger. And then after that, at some point, we've got to start adding in the math. The math becomes very, very important. So when you want to get strong and you need to get really, really strong, you need to put a stake in the ground right now and just say, I am going to be very, very, very strong. There's so much. The strength world. Part of the fitness industry is like the misunderstanding is that you've been duped into thinking that strength training is that what the fitness industry says is strength training when it's actually cardio. They've been very successful at duping people into this idea, but it's not. It's almost everything that the fitness industry does is cardio, different types of cardio than you're used to in endurance training. But today we want to talk about strength. You want to get very, very, very strong. And Madison's on the show, and she got a little hate and a little flack for being strong. Somebody asked her what she thinks she's doing getting so strong. It's a very interesting thing that people don't want you to be strong. And I think there's a lot of mindset lessons in the strength world, and I think there's a lot of really good controllable things in the strength world, but it allows you to go out and do your life and do your thing. It makes you better able to pick up your kids. It makes you better able to play with your kids. It makes you better able to be better at your job. You can go out, if you're an entrepreneur, you can go out into the marketplace better because you have that energy and that vibrance in you and that belief in yourself that you can do anything. Strength training is the ability to be durable. Strength training is the thing that actually enhances endurance just as much as endurance does. Strength training will, by durability, I mean that you're actually, because you're so strong and because you've been doing it via movement quality, then you don't get injured. And injuries suck so bad. They suck so bad. So you don't want to get into that. But let's get into this a little bit. What is the real reason for single leg squats? First I'm going to go into what it is not. Strength training through doing a single leg squat is not about balance. It's not about balance, but that's not the real primary reason for why we're doing it. Balance isn't really that conducive to strength. There's a little bit there, but there's really not very much. You take a grandma, let's say that she's like 75 years old, she's never done strength training in her life, and we don't do any balance work. Let's say we take 1,000 grandmas that are 75 years old and we have them do just balance work, and we take 1,000 grandmas that are 75 years old and we have them just do strength training work, but we don't focus on balance, no balance. The grandmas that just focus on balance, they'll get a little bit better. The grandmas that, and we've done this before, so we know this, the grandmas that just worked on strength training and didn't work on balance, their balance will improve through the roof. It'll be much stronger, much bigger gains in the strength world for balance. So it's not about balance. Now, there's a lot of talk right now about unstable surface training, and I can't believe that this is still a thing. It blows my mind that this is still a thing, but I'm scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I'm looking at people's stories. I like to see what's going on, what other people are doing. And there's this kind of guru that I follow on communication, and he got himself a personal trainer, and that came out funny. But he got a personal trainer, and he hired a personal trainer. Wow, that took a lot to get out of me. So he hires his personal trainer, and this personal trainer is all jacked up and everything, and he's having him do squats on an upside down Bosu ball, and I just like, oh my god, I cannot believe this is still a thing. That does not work on stability. That does not enhance stability. That is not stability training. That is a waste of time. It doesn't do anything. It's a circus trick. It's a waste of time. And if time is as a valuable resource as we tend to think that it is, then you better get off that goddamn Bosu ball and go do some real squats. There's a lot of reasons for this. For one, the lower body does not seem to respond well to unstable surface training. Unstable surface training would be like doing squats on an RX pad, or squats on a stability ball, or squats on a Bosu ball. It would be any kind of unstable surface. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. It's just not going to do much for you. Unstable surface training does, however, have a huge effect on the upper body. So if we're doing a bottoms-up kettlebell like we're doing isometric with it, or we're pressing it, or we're walking with it, something that gives our body this. Our body has a huge gets a huge amount of effect from this. It's a big stimulus to our body to gain a ton of strength. That isometric contraction, along with the stability, our body seems to respond very, very well to that. The lower body doesn't, unless there's an injury. So let's say you sprain your ankle. You lose all of your proprioception. Proprioception is the ability to do stuff like that. It's knowing where your joint is in space. I can close my eyes and know where my hands are because I have that proprioceptive quality. And you lose that when you get injured. So you have to regain it. So there is a certain amount of unstable surface training that would go into injuries. Now, the other thing is when the functional training craze hit, everybody started doing single leg squats, which is fantastic because we got a bunch of numbers and a bunch of data back on it, which is what led to what I'm going to talk about here in a second. So I can't really put it down. But at the same time, the reasoning was that we rarely propel ourselves via two legs, a two-legged squat position. We don't do it very often. For the most part, we live on one leg at a time. So the functional training crowd came in, and that's what they did, and they only trained one leg at a time. Now, that's fantastic and everything because it gave us a bunch of numbers, but the real thing that came back was not that the reasoning that we thought it was. This argument actually gives credit to the anthropology of the whole situation, that single leg strength from evolution, not from function, or from the functional training scenario. Now, the real big reason, so that's what it's not. It's not balance, it's not unstable surface training, and it's not functional training. It's not those things, but it's not those things. It's not the primary driver. The primary driver and the reason for doing single leg squats is that you can do, normally you'd think you have 2 feet on the ground, right? And you can do, let's say you can squat 200 pounds. You'd think, okay, well, then I could squat 100 pounds on one leg and 100 pounds on the other leg if they were individual. However, that is not the case. Now, with the arms, it's the complete reverse. You're not going to, if you can do a curl with a certain amount of weight, you're not going to do half of that with just one arm. However, with your legs, it's the complete opposite. You can do approximately 70% of your back squat. I said that I was going to use the board, didn't I? So let's say you are 200 pounds. And you can squat, and your 1 rep max on your squat equals 200 pounds. So you can squat your own body weight. This is a very good, if you're looking for a goal, I think this is a very good goal. If you can squat your own body weight, that's a very good start. That's a good thing to be able to do. All right, and now you'd think that on one leg you'd just be able to divide that in your right leg, and your left leg would be able to do 100 pounds, right? However, that is not the case. What we can actually do is we can do about 70%. So on one leg, we can do approximately 70% of what we could on two. So for 200 pounds, 70%, 60, so 140. So we can actually do on our right leg, we can actually do about 140 pounds, and on our left leg, we can actually do about 140 pounds. Okay, for instance, let's say your 1 leg max equals 300 pounds per leg, right? You would think that you'd be able to do a 600 pound back squat, but you cannot. You're going to be able to do about 30% less than that. So 10%, so that'd be like 180 pounds, so that'd be 420. So if you can do 300, you're probably at about a 420 back squat. This is why the math gets very important. When you're going from month to month and you have to convert a single leg squat 1 rep max, let's say that you built up to that, let's say you did 5, well, what would 300, that'd be like 5 reps of 250. About 5 reps of 250, let's say, equals approximately a 300 pound 1 leg squat. I'm not actually doing the numbers there. I'm just kind of throwing them out in my head. That's going to equal about a 420 pound back squat. And now you have to do the math backwards from that. That's why this math is so important to be able to do, because if you don't do this math, then you don't know where you are. And if you don't do this math, then you end up doing, stupid stuff like you either leave strength gains on the table with your 1-legged squat, or you try to do way too much weight with your back squat and you end up getting hurt. The reason that you do a single leg squat is because you can do about 70% of your back squat. Your low back, the low back is the weak force transducer. That is the entire reason. That is the primary reason. That is the whole thing. That's that is the prize. That is the realization. That is that is the epiphany. We can do about 70% of our 1 rep max, of our 1 rep squat max on one leg. That's amazing. That's 20% strength gain on both legs, which, I mean, really, if you want to add that up, is 40%. We're actually leaving, if we do not do single leg squats, we are leaving strength gains on the table. Very, very big strength gains. Now, there is something else that happens in here. I'm going to flip the board up to do this. So, when is it not appropriate? When is it not appropriate to do a single leg squat? It's when the person cannot squat, when they can only squat. Let's say your body weight, let's say that you weigh 200 pounds and you can only do your body weight. Like you can only squat down and stand up with no weight total. So your 1 RM actually equals 0. I see this happen all the time where people are like, okay, well they think that because they can do their body weight, then they can do a lunge or a single leg squat or a Bulgarian squat or a rear foot elevated split squat, whatever you call those last two things are the same thing, but still. So the point here is that 70% of 0 equals 0. So they can't do it. It's actually less like you're giving them you're putting them at a 30% deficit to be able to do that. This is the strength. The math of strength is very, very important. And I might be just a little bit of a geek on this because reading in English and stuff like that just didn't make sense to me. The ACT, we were just at a bunch of graduation parties the last couple weekends, and some of the kids were talking about their ACTs, and I couldn't help but think back to mine because I don't remember what I got, but I just remember my reading in English, and I remember it was like 13. It wasn't really 13, but it was really, really low. I think it might have been like 19 or anyway. But my science or reasoning, my math were like through the roof. Like it was obvious where my strengths lie. They were like 33 or 32 or 34 or something crazy like that. But I was so low in all the other categories and so high in the others. But this is why this is important. It is not appropriate for people who cannot squat their own body weight. If your 1 rep max is 0, if you can just do your own body weight, this isn't a person that can do 200 pounds. So how much weight do you actually have to get to? How heavy? You have to be able to squat with 2 legs. You have to be able to do at least 30% of your 1 rep of your body weight. So a 200-pound person would need to squat with 2 legs, 60 pounds, right? 30%, yes, 60 pounds before they can even think about doing a lunge or any kind of single leg squat. Or lunge. They have to be able to get at least 60 pounds. And actually, it's got to be quite a bit higher than this because you actually have to do more math here but at its most basic level, you have to be able to do at least 60 pounds if you weigh 200 pounds. You have to be at least 30 pounds. Otherwise, it's just not safe at all to do single leg squats and lunges. But anyway, that is the math of strength for a single leg squat, and that's why you do single leg squats. It is not because it is about balance. It is not about unstable surface training. It is not about the functionality of the lift and being more functional. It is about this, that the low back is the weak force transducer. The low back is the weak force transducer. If you take the low back out of the scenario by going to 1 leg, you can do 70% of your 1 rep max on your back squat on 1 leg. Seems like it should be 50-50, but it's actually 70-70. Okay, that is the big realization with the strength of math. Anyway, that's Monday. Hope you guys got something out of this. Definitely use this in your programming. If you cannot squat 30% of your 1 rep max, don't think about doing lunges. Get that number up. And if you are doing single leg squats, definitely do this math because when you are going back and forth, if you're just using 50-50, then you're leaving numbers on the table and you're leaving strength on the table. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you soon.